Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story is one that we've covered in the past but has a new update attached to it, so if you do want to skip parts of the story, timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. It's from 3004S that says, am I the arsehole for being upset my wife will miss our first anniversary for a bachelorette party? The woman my wife is missing our anniversary for hates me because I drove a wedge in their friendship, since my wife obviously spends a large chunk of time with me. I also see through her bullying bullshit and do not have patience for her. Anytime my wife tries to include this friend in our plans, the friend whines about nearly everything. Yesterday, she was car sick when we had to drive an hour and a half to and from the place we went to as she sat in the back. She tried to solve the problem by eating potato chips and 2 cans of soda, only to keep complaining she felt sick. She was clearly hinting I should have been the one sitting in the back, but I'm recovering from an injury and the extra room in the passenger seat is helpful. She made very obnoxious digs into my home country and background, to the point where I almost took the train home, leaving my wife with her friends. Living in a new country has already been exhausting. Having to hear things like that from my wife's friend wasn't pleasant. My wife didn't stand up for me against a friend, which hurt my feelings. We spoke at length last night and today about it, agreeing that I would never go out with this friend again. My wife also said it was only a matter of time before the friendship ended because she couldn't deal with the negativity and self-centered attitude anymore. On to the problem. April 17th is our first anniversary. My wife is the maid of honor at her wedding and got to choose when the bachelorette party is. She chose the week of our first anniversary, meaning we would be flying home from my home country to a very private getaway I'd planned on our anniversary, and my wife would leave me that night to go to this bachelorette weekend. I'm upset because my wife knew when our anniversary was. She knows this friend doesn't like me at all, and the friend has made digs and comments about my wife getting married before her. I understand my wife is between a rock and a hard place, but I'm tired of having to be understanding at the expense of my feelings over the friend. Edit. I don't know why everyone is dragging my wife. I've said several times this woman is a bully. Have you never had a friend who is clearly friends with a bully? It's a hard place to be in, especially when the bully has been their friend for nearly 20 years. I've seen my wife interact with this friend and be mentally drained continuously now. It's a toxic relationship, and those aren't things that are easy to get out of. I've been in a fair few myself, so it's not as simple as she needs to block her. Edit 2. I just had a very long discussion with my wife and explained my feelings. She's ending the friendship with a woman after the other woman in the car's birthday party in a week, so there isn't a fallout. She said her own anxiety about the situation was clouding her judgment and making me feel how I did isn't what she wants at all. I'm an action speaks louder than words sort of person, so we'll see what happens. But she was heartbroken and worried I was going to start the conversation with a divorce. Of course, people were asking questions after this post. Someone said on why they remained friends. OP says, I don't either. The woman's other friends wised up and dropped her. My wife and this other woman, who I know will drop her as soon as my wife has got sucked in because she had a crappy home life. So did I. I'm not an arsehole though and adjusted just fine. I wouldn't jump the gun that the friend will destroy our marriage. My wife has already said it's me 1,000,000 times over the friend. As I said, the friend is a bully. She has made my wife break down crying because I was too sick to have dinner with a friend when I first moved into the country. I went to hospital and the woman was giving my wife shit because she didn't get a chance to see me before everyone else. On what's more important, the wedding or the anniversary, OP says, we spoke today that she prioritizes our relationship well over of her and her friend. She doesn't want to rock the boat though. She would 100% say our anniversary. I know this already, but as I said, the friend is a bully and steamrolls people in their feelings. The other friend in the car tried to cut off that friend and the soon-to-be bride refused to let her end the friendship. She essentially wore her down until the woman complied. As you'll see in the second edit, I spoke with my wife for nearly 2 hours. She's afraid of the fallout she had received from mutual friends. When I pointed out the mutual friends are likely friends with the person because of her, it was like a light bulb went off. she'd be ending their friendship as soon as this birthday party for that other woman in the OP is over. They were all best friends for the last 20 years, and my wife doesn't want to make things awkward for that friend. So OP came in with their first update and said there were many discussions and disagreements leading up to her ending the friendship. Things would grate at me that my wife was still going along with the friendship for the sake of her other friend in their friendship triangle's birthday party. Every day it was like I was more annoyed because she still hadn't even defended me to the friend, and it was showing she cared less about me and how I felt in her country when she knows how much I miss mine. She knew she needed to end it anyway and said losing our relationship wasn't an option. After a bit of prying, it was clear how psychotic she thinks her friend is. My wife believes her friend will likely key her car, show up to the house and cause problems, drag all the other friends involved into it. It all came to a head when I told her I was not returning to her country from mine. We're back in mine for a Christmas thing with my family if the friendship was still intact. She ended the friendship 2 days later after the friend called me racist towards the very large white 85% plus majority of her country. I am white. As expected, the friend has started to go off the rails. So far, it's been excessive phone calls, texts, the friend trying to text me and apologize for her comments to salvage anything with my wife, but I had changed my number a week prior. The apology was something along the lines of, "Sorry if what I said hurt your feelings, but your words hurt mine." What I said had just pointed out my frustration with lived experiences from the new country every day. Friendship is over. Wife is worried ex-friend will key her car. She is genuinely fearful of this ex-friend. We'll be installing another camera as soon as we get home that only points to her car. I doubt this is the last update. We actually booked a vacation for our first year anniversary. Around 20 odd days later, OP comes in with an update and says my wife had an exchange of bachelorette party information with a new maid of honor at a cafe. The new maid of honor and her old friends, she knew exactly why my wife was doing what she did in ending the friendship. The ex-friend made a request through the maid of honor that she wanted my wife to delete all pictures and videos of her from her phone. It was a bit of a head scratcher with how paranoid the ex-friend is because my wife would never even think to do anything negatively with them. It makes me think what the ex-friend would do to all my wife's images and videos from over the years if she's thinking my wife would do anything with hers. It just seems like another odd bit of controlling behavior. The only real annoyance other than that is I've had to spend out of pocket $500 for my wife's dress, makeup, hair that was paid for already. The dress was $40. She hasn't had hair and makeup done and someone has already filled her slot as the missing bridesmaid. My wife spent $400 on the hotel room we won't get to use for the wedding days. Nearly $1,000 out of pocket. Worth it though. The biggest upside has been my wife is much more relaxed over the last month. She doesn't get sucked into drama via text when looking at her phone now. She isn't on Snapchat having to hear her ex-friend talk horribly about her friends, her fiance, etc. So the messages disappear. I've always said to her, the way she talked about all those others to you, she's talking right back to them the same way about you. We've been enjoying the last month plus of peace and quiet and hope it stays that way. I likely won't have any further update unless something actually happens. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Do you think it's the end of this one? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move into another story with an update as well from Throwaway Agent 000, which says, wife 36 female wanted an open marriage. After I, 38 male, started dating, she wants to add more rules. What would you do in my position? 2.5 years ago, my wife, Sarah, 36 female, asked me to open our marriage. She strongly implied the alternative was divorce. After thinking it through, I said yes, primarily because we do have 2 children. I work long hours and divorce sounded horrible. So I set up some ground rules. Not bringing dates into our house, no dating mutual friends, acquaintances, family members, colleagues, keeping things private. For the next 2 years, I focused on my job and on my kids. I worked long hours. Little free time I had, I devoted to my kids. I didn't have time for dating, so I wasn't even trying. I moved to another room because the thought of Sarah having sex with another man and sleeping in my bed felt horrible. Our relationship became purely transactional. We became partners at raising kids. I didn't want to know anything about her sex life. This summer, I managed to fulfill my financial goals. I do not have any debt whatsoever. Both my kids have enough money in their college fund and All I have to do is keep adding some savings every month into the fund I made for their first home deposits. So I did some math and decided to cut my work from 74 hours to just 30 per week. Sarah wanted to get indebted again to buy another house and a new car. I said no. I used my free time to finally have a vacation I really needed. Took older son with me to tour US together. Did some renovation work on our house, turned basement into a man cave, started working out, play sports, leading a healthier life. Then I actually started trying to land a date. For me, just having sex with somebody is not my thing. I want to at least be a friend before that, to go out together, watch movies, have fun and have sex. So I dated a couple of women and found a Jane with whom I clicked. With Jane, I was going out to concerts, art galleries, comic cons, movies, and we would boink too. Cheeky. Sarah wanted to talk about my dates. I said no. Then I caught Sarah snooping through my phone and we had a very strongly worded argument. Now Sarah wants to update the terms of our open marriage. She wants us to repair our marriage by going to the counselor. She wants us to sleep in the same room, to go outside and have fun together. Our outside of marriage relationships are to be strictly sexual and nothing else, and we are to talk about our sexual partners. I told her that I'm content with the situation as it is, and I don't mind if she finds a partner to go out with. I encouraged her to, and I don't want to talk about our partners. She is holding her ground. At this point, I'm split between trying to fix our marriage and handing her the divorce papers. I need advice, guys. And if I'm being blunt in this one, it just feels like that marriage is already over. It ended when, when this whole thing happened. And you've pretty much just been divorced without the paperwork. But ZCM says, should have divorced her when she wanted to open up the marriage. Her plan was for her to fuck around, not you finding a girlfriend. OP says, I'm glad I didn't divorce at that point. I grew up in a very poor family. Had the smarts but couldn't afford the college. Had to struggle from the beginning to actually make it. I don't want my kids to have to go through that. By staying in the marriage, I could keep working hard while still seeing my kids. I could save enough to give them a chance in life with free college and going to save for their deposits as well. So I actually do not have any regrets about that decision. Taylor says, tell her that it stays as is or divorce. Personally, I would divorce your wife. She is selfish and hasn't given two shits about you for the past 2+ years. She hasn't cared until you got with someone, probably because she felt you couldn't get anyone else. Leave, dude, you deserve better. By the way, this is going to blow up now she is jealous. You'll be branded a cheater, so you need to protect yourself. No More Tempest says your wife is a hypocrite. You are emotionally numbed out. You agreed to open up the marriage upon her request, which was a really terrible idea. That would have been the time to do the work you both should have done to fix this shit. Marriages get stale from time to time. She needed to turn towards you, not put her emotional energy into new dick. Sorry about the crass language, I don't mean any disrespect, but you need a wake-up call. You do not have a marriage, it's a business arrangement now. So what's the point? Pretty sure you know the answer. Good luck, OP, and I hope you find what you're looking for. OP quotes that and says, yeah, I recently noticed that too. Things which used to drive an emotional response from me are now leaving me feeling nothing. My friend died and I went to his funeral and all and didn't feel anything. Just felt like shit for not feeling anything. Nobody notices because I act emotional responses. I've been planning to see a therapist. And one more comment from Rip Dirtbag who says, this isn't a marriage. You two are nothing other than partners in this business of your family. And have been since you decided to open the marriage like that. Credit to you for the work you've done, and I'm sure having reliable support at home for the kids is why you're able to work 74, oddly specific, hours a week. But this isn't a romantic partnership and seems to have not been for a while. Also, I totally understand the line you've drawn around not wanting to hear your wife about it. She wanted to open the relationship. You let it happen. She wants to turn it into a shared kink. Fuck that noise. OP adds a little bit of extra information and quoted someone saying, but man, you're working 74 hours per week and spending your free time with the kids. Then says, after she decided to open our marriage, at which point I pretty much focused on completing financial goals as soon as possible. I was working longer hours before that, but not that long. I was finding time to spend with Sarah. And then quotes, now you have free time, you're still choosing not to see your wife, and then says, I actually left her to initiate that if she wished to. She didn't. Quotes again saying, "So yeah, she probably just didn't estimate you'd be having a full-on simultaneous relationships," and says, "Except I'm not having two simultaneous relationships. Since Sarah decided to open our marriage, the two of us didn't have any intimate moments. We didn't sleep together, we didn't go outside together. After I switched to working 30 hours, she didn't initiate to change anything. Our relationship was co-parenting under the same roof really. Once I started dating other women, she started snooping around. She found out I was dating Jane. She wanted to change the rules. Even then, she said nothing about closing the relationship, just changed to only having sex outside of marriage, which boils down to me not being able to have a single intimate relationship." But OP comes in saying, "Several people have asked for an update on my previous post, so here it is. Me and my wife have had 2 sessions with a couples counselor. Counselor was very dedicated and professional. However, Sarah kept making demands which felt very unreasonable and unfair. She wants to keep an open relationship which is only about sex. She doesn't want to find a job and keep working. She wants us to buy a new house. In every variation, she stubbornly wasn't to have 2/3 of these things. Today, during the counselling, she threatened divorce. After counselling, she said counselor was taking my side and wanted to change to another counsellor. Although I think counselor was just trying to be fair and find a compromise. I had a talk with a lawyer and started divorce proceedings. She'll get the papers in a couple of days. I'll give her 2 months to start earning on her own. After that, I'm not giving any money whatsoever to her anymore. P.S. I just wanted to add that I only started working 74 hours a week after she decided to open our marriage. Before that, I was working around 50 hours a week. Wasn't spending my time at bars and clubs either. Out with chores as much as I could, and I was being home and available every weekend. I never understand people like that who want to go to counselling, but when the counsellor doesn't agree with them and try to make them self-reflect, they're like, "No, we need to find another counsellor," then threatening to divorce OP. I mean, I couldn't see this story ending in any other way, and I gotta be honest, I think it's like the best way forward, and I think one of the positives to come out of this, at least OP's debt-free, right? But anyway, what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's have another story. And it's a story without an update as yet from Sadhold7262, who says, "Am I the arsehole for cancelling our apartment signing after I found out that my boyfriend bought an expensive car? My boyfriend, 31 male, and I, 28 female, have been together for just over 2 years. We've been living with roommates and have been looking to move in for a while. It's expensive and I have a dog, so it's been difficult finding a landlord that would be okay with a dog. My friend has been moving out and she has a dog too and is willing to sublet for us. The landlord said they're okay with us signing if we want to stay after the 8-month sublet. It's a fairly good price near work, so I'm happy with it. We went through the credit check and we're about to sign it, but recently I discovered that my boyfriend bought another car. He already has a daily driver but wants a weekend car, which I personally find ridiculous, where anyone needs 2 cars. He has a Honda Accord that is fine and he's never complained about problems with it, but he recently said he bought another car. He isn't the best with money. He really likes to spend till the last dollar and doesn't have any savings. I've had to bail him out twice on rent. We both pay around $1,100 plus utilities and he makes around $70,000 a year, so he should have savings, but he doesn't. He paid me back, but it was months later than we agreed on. So I wasn't really happy that he did that, but I didn't realize he bought such an expensive car. He didn't show me it until Saturday when he picked me up in a Corvette. I don't know what model it is, but I asked him how much it was and he said it wasn't my business, and I was pissed off he bought a clearly expensive car. He admitted later, because I refused to let it go, that it was $42,000 and had traded in the Honda. Even then, his payments are almost $800 a month. I was so mad he did that, especially because he asked me to cover part of his share of the apartment security deposit a week before he bought the car. I called my friend and apologized and told her I can't sign the lease, and she said she was okay with it. I hadn't paid the deposit yet, thankfully, and my roommate is okay with me staying, so I'm good. But my boyfriend lease is ending and the landlord wants him out, so he's mad at me cancelling us moving in together, because now he still needs to move and will probably be paying more than if we moved in together. He yelled at me for butting in on his business, saying it's not my business what he buys. I think that's fair, but he also doesn't have any money and bought an expensive car, so if anything goes wrong, I have to pay his share of rent. Now for me, this is absolutely your business because it's affecting you. You've already given his history and how unreliable he is. So you really need to consider your future and moving in with this person, which is a huge life change. Like you said, if he fucks up, you're in the hot seat. And for me, and it might sound a bit dramatic, I would seriously be side-eyeing the whole relationship and how far you want to go until he has, his finances under control at least. Sure, you could keep the relationship casual if you want, go on dates, all that sort of stuff, not move in together. But if you're really getting serious about it, then you need to discuss these finances and what he's doing with it. Because spending $42K on a car, when in some ways he seems to be like struggling month to month, is not a good financial decision. It will affect you, going to have a knock-on effect on you, which you just don't need in your life, right? I'm not quite sure how this guy is spending all his money month to month. I'm sure it's possible, but I'm not sure where he's spending it. And if he's already struggling, having a car like that, I'm not sure. I've never owned a Corvette, but I've had a couple of high maintenance cars in the past, but nothing to that kind of level. It will get expensive. Yeah, it'd be possible checkout time for me, but Sarissa says, not the arsehole. He hasn't paid you back for the times you've had to cover his rent, but it's not your business that he buys himself a Corvette. Why keep dating this man? You clearly can't trust him. Opie says, he paid me back. He said he would pay me as soon as payday comes around, and he didn't pay me back fully until months after I lent him the money. We are compatible if not for the finances, and I guess I'm hoping it will change on that so we can still be together. I know it's not likely, but I guess I don't want to break up because of money. But I'm not willing to move in until he changes. Igor says, money is something that breaks up relationships. It's clear the two of you are incompatible in your attitudes towards money. You think he should have, he thinks money is for spending. He's blurry about the lines between your money and his money, or he wouldn't have asked you to cover for him while not mentioning he was buying an expensive car. It's a good call to not move in with him, not the arsehole. And a final comment from Nana Leone, who says not the arsehole with a bunch of red flags and says just under $800 car payment. Who knows how much for insurance and maintenance, and he only earns $70K. Is that net or gross? He couldn't afford the rent on that apartment. He did the right thing to walk away from being trapped in an apartment rental with him. So now, try and put yourself in OP's shoes. What would you do in this position? Do you think, there's a way to work through this with him? There's a way that you can maybe talk about finances and still build a future together? Or would this be major red flags for you? Would this be the end of the relationship? I gotta be honest, for me, it's putting major red flags up. Especially when it's having a knock-on effect with OP, and yet he's still saying to her, it's none of your business. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. You cheeky so-and-so. Much love.